Have you ever wondered why some lessons seem to outlive centuries, carrying the same weight today as they did 1,000 years ago? Imagine a young boy in Persia, just 16, already curing rulers with his medical knowledge, while at night he dives deep into philosophy, mathematics, and astronomy. That boy grew into Avicenna, known as Ibn Sina, one of the greatest minds humanity has ever known. His life was not just a pursuit of knowledge, but a map of timeless wisdom, guiding us on how to live with purpose, resilience, and vision. Today, we'll uncover the lessons Avicenna left for us, lessons that can still shape our lives, our choices, and even our faith in what's possible. Avicenna lived over 1,000 years ago, between 980 and 1037, during the Islamic Golden Age, a time when scholars sought not only to preserve knowledge, but to expand it beyond borders. Born in a small village near Bukhara, he grew up in an era where wisdom was prized as the highest form of wealth. By the age of 18, he had already written works that would later shape the foundations of medicine and philosophy. His most famous text, the Canon of Medicine, remained the standard medical reference in Europe and the Middle East for centuries. But Avicenna was more than a physician. He was a philosopher who wrestled with questions of existence, a scientist who searched for the laws of nature, and a man whose struggles taught him resilience in the face of constant exile and political intrigue. In Avicenna's journey, we discover not only the brilliance of his intellect, but also lessons about perseverance, curiosity, and the courage to think beyond the boundaries of tradition. And today, we'll explore 4 timeless lessons from his life that speak directly to us, even in the 21st century. Lesson 1. Knowledge as liberation. For Avicenna, knowledge was never just information stored in the mind, it was freedom. As a child, he grew up in a world where superstition often overshadowed reason, yet he refused to accept things blindly. Instead, he sought to understand. At the age of 10, he had memorized the Quran, and by 16, he was already treating patients with insights that surpassed the experience of seasoned physicians. What drove him was not ambition, but liberation. He believed that knowledge freed a person from the chains of fear and ignorance. To Avicenna, when you understand the world, you are no longer trapped by its mysteries. You are empowered to navigate it. His Canon of Medicine is a perfect example. It wasn't just a book of cures, it was a system of thinking. He categorized diseases, identified symptoms, and introduced experimental methods, laying the foundation for modern clinical medicine. Through this, he showed that real power lies not in wealth or status, but in understanding. Even today, his lesson remains clear. When we commit ourselves to learning, whether about health, relationships, or the world around us, we unlock doors that ignorance keeps shut. Knowledge, in Avicenna's words and life, is not just an advantage, it is liberation. Lesson 2. The balance of faith and reason. Avicenna lived in a time when faith shaped every corner of life. Yet he was not afraid to ask questions that many considered dangerous. To him, reason and faith were not enemies. They were partners. He believed that true understanding of the divine could never come from blind belief alone. It had to be illuminated by rational thought. In his philosophical writings, Avicenna explored the nature of existence and the soul. He argued that reason could lead us closer to God, because logic and reflection were gifts given to humanity to uncover truth. At the same time, he never abandoned faith. For him, the heart and the mind were two wings of the same bird. Both needed to rise toward higher truth. This lesson resonates today. In a world often divided between those who cling only to faith and those who trust only in science, Avicenna reminds us of the harmony between the two. We do not need to choose. Faith gives us meaning, while reason gives us clarity. Together they form a compass that guides us through uncertainty. His life whispers a timeless message. When belief and intellect walk side by side, we find a balance that strengthens both our spiritual and practical lives. Lesson 3. Resilience in Exile. Avicenna's life was not a smooth path of honor and comfort. In fact, much of it was marked by exile, imprisonment, and constant political turmoil. He served as a physician and advisor to rulers, but shifting alliances often left him vulnerable. At times he was hunted, forced into hiding, and even thrown into prison. Yet in these dark seasons, he did not collapse. Instead, he wrote, "In a cell with no comforts, Avicenna composed treatises on philosophy, medicine, and metaphysics, works that would outlive kings and empires." His resilience was not just endurance, it was creative defiance. He transformed suffering into wisdom, isolation into productivity, hardship into legacy. This is the lesson he left us. Adversity does not define us. Our response to it does. We cannot control the storms of life, illness, betrayal, loss, but we can choose whether they break us or forge us. Avicenna chose to let exile refine his mind and spirit, and through that choice, he became immortal in history. For us, the message is deeply human. Resilience is not about pretending pain does not exist. It is about turning pain into something that endures. Lesson 4. The pursuit of unity in knowledge. Avicenna never saw knowledge as a set of separate boxes. Medicine here, philosophy there, mathematics somewhere else. To him, all knowledge was one great tapestry, woven together by the same thread of truth. His famous book, The Book of Healing, was not just about curing illness. It was about healing the human soul through logic, ethics, and science. He believed that to understand the world fully, we must connect disciplines. A doctor must also understand the soul. A philosopher must also understand the body. A leader must also understand morality. In his view, wisdom was holistic, never fragmented. Today, when our world often values specialization over connection, Avicenna's lesson is striking. The greatest breakthroughs come when we weave ideas together. Innovation is born when philosophy meets science, when compassion meets reason, when heart meets intellect. Avicenna's life calls us to pursue unity in knowledge, not just to collect facts, but to see the harmony that links them, guiding us toward deeper understanding. Lesson 5. The Legacy of Wisdom. Avicenna passed away at just 57, yet his works traveled far beyond his lifetime. For centuries, European universities taught from his medical texts. Philosophers debated his ideas, theologians wrestled with his insights, and countless physicians carried his remedies into practice. His wisdom became a bridge between East and West, science and faith, body and soul. The timeless lesson he leaves us is this: true legacy is not measured by wealth or power, but by the light we kindle in others. Avicenna's life reminds us that knowledge shared becomes wisdom multiplied, and wisdom lived becomes a gift to generations. And so, as we reflect on Avicenna's journey, from a boy prodigy in Persia to one of humanity's greatest teachers, we are reminded that our own struggles, talents, and choices can ripple far beyond our years. If this journey into the timeless lessons of Avicenna has inspired you, I invite you to carry these teachings into your own life. Seek knowledge with humility, balance reason with faith, stand resilient in hardship, and look for unity in all things. And if you found value here, I'd love for you to subscribe to this channel and share your thoughts in the comments. Which of Avicenna's lessons spoke to you most deeply? Together, let's keep these voices of wisdom alive, because their light still guides us today.